And then a fall from the top is so public, it's so embarrassing. Everybody see it take so long. And then when you hit that rock bottom, you look up, and it began to become intimidating.
He was a world champion. They called him the chosen one. He had the cars, the houses, the belt, the whole world watching him win. So how did a man who climbed all the way to the top end up here, at almost 44, in a place this sad? The come up. Before we talk about where Tyron Woodley is today, you have to understand where he started, because the bottom he came from is what makes the top he reached hit so different. He was born Tyron Lakent Woodley on April 7, 1982, in Ferguson, Missouri, right outside of St. Louis. He came up in a big family as one of 13 kids, raised mostly by his single mother, Deborah, after his father left early. Money was tight and the streets were heavy out there. Woodley has gone as far as calling his hometown the murder capital of the world, and he has called himself a street baby who made it out the right way while a whole lot of people around him ended up dead or locked up. He literally grew up on the same block that the rest of the world would later see burning on the news.
I know you guys heard about the riots and stuff in Ferguson. That's my street. Not around it. I lived on that street. So I grew up in that environment, gang banging in middle school for no reason, like an idiot, and fighting in a household.
A big part of why he never broke down out there was his mother. Woodley has said over and over that she poured belief into all of her kids, telling the story that my mom did a really good job of instilling values and self-worth in me and my brothers and sisters. No one could tell me that I'm inferior. That foundation mattered because the thing that actually pulled him out of all that chaos was wrestling. Over at McClure High School, he became a Missouri State champion in 2000, and he went undefeated his senior year at 48 wins and 0 losses. That kind of season opened up real doors, and it carried him to the University of Missouri, where he became a 2-time All-American, a Big 12 champion, and walked away with a degree in agricultural economics. The discipline he built grinding on those wrestling mats is the same discipline that would later turn him into a serious problem inside a cage. When he finally moved over to fighting, he wasted no time at all. He turned professional in 2009 after going 7-0 as an amateur, and he started making noise almost immediately. He built his name in Strikeforce with that wrestling base and that heavy right hand, putting together highlight finishes that got people talking, and then he joined the UFC in 2013 and kept dropping people with that same power. Then came the night that flipped his whole life around. In July of 2016 at UFC 201, Woodley knocked out Robbie Lawler in the very first round to win the welterweight title. Just like that, the kid from Ferguson was champion of the entire world, and he did not just grab the belt and let it slip away either. He held onto it, defending it 4 times against the best in the division and beating names like Stephen Thompson, Demian Maia, and Darren Till along the way. That win over Till came by submission, and his team even handed him his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt right there in the cage afterward. For a few good years, it really looked like nobody could take what was his, but that same hunger that built him all the way up was the exact thing that was about to start tearing him back down: the money and the fall. Here is where the story turns, and the painful part is that it was not just something that happened to him, it was partly something he did to himself. When the money started coming in, Woodley spent it, and he has been real honest about that. In a 2020 interview, he admitted he ran through a fortune during his time as champion, telling people, "I blew through a lot of money, man. A lot. I bought like 7 cars and 2 houses, on top of all the jewelry, the trips, and the VIP nights." The way he tells it, he grew up with nothing. So the moment he finally had something, he wanted to give that little kid from Ferguson everything that little kid never had. He has even talked about it like he was rewarding the 10-year-old version of himself who went without name-brand clothes and without attention. And you can understand why a man would feel that way, but that mindset came with a real cost. Years later, he looked back on it even harder. In a December 2025 interview, he said he had been living a rock star life and turned into a socialite after the fame hit. He said he was living 2 different lives, showing up as a great father and a hard worker in the gym, while at the same time being, in his own words, a terrible husband who let all the partying and the distractions pull his focus off the very thing that made him great in the first place. And while all of that was going on, his body started giving out on him, almost always at the worst possible moment. People forget that he was already fighting hurt at the top of his run, like the time he tore the labrum in his right shoulder in the first round against Demian Maia and still gutted out the win before needing surgery to fix it. That is the kind of damage that adds up on a man.
Didn't break it, but it tore all the ligaments that attached it. So my hand was basically at a state of dislocation. It was just extreme pain.
That hand was so messed up after the Till fight that it pushed him out of a rematch with Robbie Lawler, and the division was not about to sit around and wait on him to heal up. A whole new wave of dangerous young killers had shown up, and in March of 2019, at UFC 235, Kamaru Usman took his belt away by decision. Losing the title was already hard enough, but what came after it was even worse. Woodley dropped a decision to Gilbert Burns, then got stopped by Colby Covington while dealing with a rib injury, and then got submitted by Vicente Luque in a fight that still earned Fight of the Night. That made 3 straight losses. The same man who used to make top contenders look ordinary was suddenly the one getting finished, and he ended up fighting his way right out of his UFC contract on that losing streak. The chosen one was running out of road, and believe it or not, the hardest part of the whole story had not even arrived yet: where he is now. After he left the UFC in 2021, Woodley went chasing the big checks over in the boxing world, and that is honestly where the picture started to get the saddest. He stepped into the ring with the YouTube star turned boxer Jake Paul, and the first fight in August of 2021 went to Paul by split decision. A fight that still pulled in around 500,000 pay-per-view buys because the casual crowd wanted to see it. They ran it back not long after, and the rematch ended with Paul knocking Woodley out cold in the 6th round. For a man who used to be a real world champion, getting put to sleep by a YouTuber was a tough thing for the fans to sit there and watch, but it did not stop there, and that is the heartbreaking part. On December 19th of 2025, a 50-year-old Anderson Silva dropped Woodley and finished him by second-round TKO on the Jake Paul vs. Anthony Joshua undercard. That loss left his professional boxing record sitting at 0 wins and 3 losses, with 2 of those defeats coming by stoppage. A man who was once one of the most feared welterweights breathing had slowly turned into the guy they book when somebody else needs a highlight knockout. The same stretch of time hit him in other ways too. His longtime coach Duke Rufus, the man who helped build him and a bunch of other champions, died in his sleep in October of 2025 at 55 years old, and Woodley was one of the people who paid tribute to him. Now, here is the part that keeps this from being a flat, hopeless story. Through every bit of it, Woodley has kept his head up and owned his role in his own downfall. He knows exactly where he comes from, and he has reminded people more than once that he has lived through far worse things than a loss inside a ring.
Obviously, you don't ever want to go back and experience that, but I've been through way worse than losing a belt. I've been chased, I've been shot at, I've been freaking in gang fights, I've been, ran from 15 people chasing me. Fighting ain't that scary to me.
So that is the real weight behind a title like Almost 44, and how he lives is sad. It is not about one accident or one tragedy that landed on him out of nowhere. It is about a man who climbed all the way up out of Ferguson, touched the very top of his whole sport, and then watched the money, the injuries, and the distractions chip it all down piece by piece. The talent was real, and the fall was just as real. And the saddest thing about it is how much of it he could have avoided. What sticks with you is the lesson buried inside his story. The fame and the money came fast, but the things that actually keep a man on top, the focus, the balance, and the people who matter the most, are the same things he says he let slip away. He is still a father to his children, and he has talked about wanting to give back to troubled young people who come from the kind of place he came from. So the story is not fully written yet. Still, at almost 44, Tyron Woodley is standing there talking about getting back, while that throne he once sat on feels further away now than it ever has. And that gap between who he was and where he is right now is exactly what makes his story so hard to watch. What do you think about this steep decline? Let me know in the comments section. Click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.